Close your eyes for a moment and picture this. A young boy sits quietly in a small wooden cabin. The room is dim, lit only by a soft, flickering candle. In his hands is an old, worn-out book. It is not even his book. He borrowed it, and to get it, he had to walk a long distance. He reads slowly, carefully. Every word matters to him. This boy does not go to school very often. He does not have many teachers, but he has something powerful: curiosity, a deep desire to understand the world around him. Years later, that same boy will grow up to lead a nation. He will guide his country through one of its darkest times. His name is Abraham Lincoln. Today, let's explore his story together. Take a deep breath, relax, and let this journey help you learn and grow, one simple word at a time. Abraham Lincoln was born on February 12, 1809, in the state of Kentucky. His home was not big or fancy. It was a small log cabin made of wood. Inside, there was only one room for the whole family. Life was not easy. His family did not have much money. His father worked as a farmer, and every day required hard labor. From a very young age, Abraham helped. He carried water, fed animals, and chopped wood. The work was heavy, but it made him strong. Abraham had a sister named Sarah, and he loved his family deeply. But the person who shaped him the most in his early years was his mother, Nancy. Nancy Lincoln was kind, gentle, and wise. She told Abraham stories and taught him important values. She showed him how to be honest, how to be patient, and how to treat others with respect. Even though there were very few books, she encouraged him to learn. She wanted him to read and think. Abraham listened closely to her words, and he carried her lessons in his heart for the rest of his life. But learning was not simple. There were almost no schools nearby. Books were rare. Sometimes it seemed like the world did not give him many chances. Still, Abraham did not stop. He kept looking for ways to learn. When Abraham was 7 years old, his family moved to Indiana. His father hoped for better land and a better future. The journey was long and difficult. They traveled through forests and crossed rivers, facing many challenges along the way. When they finally arrived, they built another small cabin and started again from nothing. Then, something very sad happened. When Abraham was 9 years old, his mother became very sick. She had a disease called milk sickness. At that time, there was no real medicine to help her. Day by day, she became weaker. Abraham watched, feeling helpless. He wanted to do something, anything, but he could not. Soon after, Nancy passed away. Abraham was heartbroken. He missed her deeply. Her absence left a quiet sadness inside him that stayed for many years. Life became even harder after that. His father could not manage everything alone. So, about a year later, he remarried. His new wife, Sarah Bush Johnston, came into the family with her own children. At first, Abraham felt unsure. Everything had changed so quickly. But Sarah turned out to be a blessing. She was warm, caring, and strong. She treated Abraham with kindness and love, just like her own son. More importantly, she saw something special in him. She noticed how much he loved to learn. Sarah brought books into the home. She gave Abraham the time and support he needed to read. She protected his learning, even when there was work to do. This changed everything. With her encouragement, Abraham's world began to grow. He did attend school sometimes, but not for long. The schools were very basic. Students would repeat lessons out loud together over and over. These were called blab schools. In total, Abraham had less than a year of formal education. But that did not stop him. Instead, he created his own education. He borrowed books whenever he could. Sometimes he walked miles just to get one. Then he would read it again and again until he fully understood it. He read about history. He read about law. He read the Bible many times. He studied stories of leaders like George Washington. He even explored mathematics. Each book opened a new door in his mind. Abraham did not rush through reading. He took his time. He thought deeply about each idea. He wanted to truly understand, not just remember. Because paper was expensive, he practiced writing in creative ways. He used wooden boards. He used charcoal. Sometimes he even wrote on the ground. Nothing stopped him from learning. But Abraham was not only a reader, he was also a storyteller. He loved sharing what he learned. He would tell stories to friends and family, often adding humor and emotion. People enjoyed listening to him. He made them laugh, but he also made them think. Slowly, Abraham discovered something important. Words have power. The right words can change how people feel. They can help others understand new ideas. They can bring people together. This realization would later shape his future in ways he could not yet imagine. As he grew older, Abraham became very tall, over 6 feet. At that time, this was unusual. He was also thin, with long arms and legs. Some people made fun of how he looked. It hurt sometimes, but instead of becoming angry, Abraham learned to smile at himself. He stayed humble. He understood that how a person looks is not as important as who they are inside. Character mattered more than appearance. And this belief stayed with him as he continued to grow.
As Abraham entered his young adult years, life did not suddenly become easier. He took on many different jobs, doing whatever he could to earn a living. One of his main jobs was splitting logs to build fences. It was tough, physical work that required strength and patience. Day after day, he worked with his hands, shaping wood under the open sky. But even while his body worked, his mind kept searching. At one point, he helped build a flatboat and traveled down the Mississippi River. This journey took him far from home and opened his eyes to a much bigger world. He saw busy towns, new cultures, and different ways of life. Then he reached New Orleans. What he saw there changed him forever. In the city, Abraham witnessed enslaved people being bought and sold. Human beings were treated like objects, like property. Families were separated. Lives were controlled without mercy. He felt something deep inside him, shock, anger, and sadness all at once. He did not forget that moment. It stayed with him, quietly shaping his beliefs about right and wrong. When Abraham was 22 years old, his family moved again, this time to Illinois. This would become the place where he built his future. By now, he knew one thing clearly. He did not want to spend his entire life doing only physical labor. He respected hard work, but he also wanted to use his mind. He wanted to grow, to learn more, and to help people in a different way. So he made a decision. He would become a lawyer. This was not an easy path. He had no money for school, no formal training, no clear guide. But he had determination. Abraham began studying law on his own. He borrowed books, just like he always had. He read them slowly, carefully, and repeatedly. When he did not understand something, he asked questions. He listened. He learned from anyone willing to teach. Day by day, piece by piece, he built his knowledge.
After years of effort, he passed the exam and became a lawyer. This was a turning point. Now Abraham could stand in court and help people solve problems. He became known for something very important, his honesty. He did not try to trick people. He did not twist the truth. If a case was unfair, he would not take it. People trusted him because they knew he would always do what was right. He began working in Springfield, the capital of Illinois. There, he slowly built a strong reputation. People saw him as fair, thoughtful, and deeply committed to justice. But Abraham's journey did not stop there. As he worked as a lawyer, he became more interested in something bigger, politics. Politics is about how a country is led and how decisions are made for the people. Abraham believed he could make a difference. He believed that leadership should be honest and focused on helping others. So he decided to run for office. He spoke directly to the people. His words were simple, clear, and sincere. He did not use complicated language. He spoke in a way that everyone could understand. And people listened. In 1834, at just 25 years old, Abraham was elected to the Illinois state legislature. This was a big step forward. Around this time, another important part of his life began. He met a woman named Mary Todd. Mary came from a wealthy and educated family. She was intelligent, confident, and very interested in politics, just like Abraham. When they talked, hours seemed to pass quickly. They shared ideas, dreams, and strong opinions about the future. They fell in love. But their relationship was not simple. They came from very different backgrounds. Mary's family was not sure about Abraham. At one point, the couple even separated for a time. Still, their connection remained strong. In 1842, they married and started a life together in Springfield. Over the years, they had 4 sons: Robert, Edward, William, and Thomas. Abraham loved his children deeply. Despite his busy work, he made time for them. He played, joked, and told stories. He was gentle and caring as a father. But once again, life brought pain. Their son Edward died when he was only 3 years old. Later, their son William passed away at age 11. These losses were heartbreaking. Abraham and Mary both suffered deeply, but they continued moving forward. They supported each other through grief, holding on during their darkest moments. While his personal life had ups and downs, Abraham's political path continued to grow. He was elected to the United States Congress, where he served 1 term. During this time, he spoke openly against slavery. He believed it was morally wrong and that every person deserved freedom. Not everyone agreed. The country was divided. In the southern states, large farms depended on enslaved labor. Many people believed slavery was necessary for their economy. Tension between the North and South continued to grow. In 1858, Abraham ran for the United States Senate. His opponent was Stephen Douglas, a well-known and powerful politician. The 2 men faced each other in a series of 7 debates. These debates became famous. Crowds gathered from all over to listen. Abraham spoke clearly and firmly about slavery. He argued that it should not spread into new territories. He stood by his belief that it was wrong. Douglas disagreed and defended different policies. Even though Abraham lost the election, something important happened. People across the country heard him. They remembered his words. They saw his character. They began to recognize him as a leader with strong values. Sometimes losing can lead to something greater, and for Abraham Lincoln, that moment was just ahead.
Just 2 years later, in 1860, something unexpected happened. Abraham Lincoln was chosen to run for President of the United States. For a man who started life in a small wooden cabin with almost no formal education, this was an incredible moment. But it was also a very dangerous time for the country. The United States was deeply divided. The North and the South disagreed strongly about slavery. Many Southern states warned that if Lincoln became president, they would leave the Union, the United States as one country. Tension was high. The future was uncertain. Still, Abraham moved forward with calm and strength. He did not speak with anger. He did not try to divide people further. Instead, he focused on unity. He talked about keeping the country together and about the idea that all people are equal. This belief came from the founding principles of the nation, and Abraham believed in it with all his heart. On November 6, 1860, Abraham Lincoln was elected president. He was 51 years old. But before he could even fully begin his work, the country started to break apart. Several Southern states left the Union and formed their own government, called the Confederate States. They wanted to protect slavery and did not accept Lincoln as their leader. This was the beginning of the Civil War. A civil war is one of the most painful kinds of conflict. It is when people from the same country fight each other. Friends become enemies, families are divided. In March 1861, Abraham officially became president. Just 1 month later, the war began. From that moment on, he faced some of the hardest decisions any leader could ever face. Every choice carried great weight. Every mistake could cost lives. The war lasted 4 long years. More than 600,000 people died. Abraham felt this deeply. He carried the pain of the nation every single day. He often struggled to sleep. His face showed signs of stress and sadness. But he did not give up. He believed in the Union. He believed the country must stay together, and he believed that freedom was worth fighting for. In 1863, during the middle of the war, Abraham made one of the most important decisions of his life. He issued the Emancipation Proclamation. This document declared that enslaved people in the Confederate States were free. It did not immediately end slavery everywhere, but it changed the purpose of the war. Now the fight was not only about keeping the country united, it was also about human freedom. It sent a clear message to the world. This war was about justice. Later that same year, in November 1863, Abraham gave a speech that would be remembered forever. It took place in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, where one of the bloodiest battles of the war had happened. Thousands of soldiers had died there. Abraham stood before a crowd and spoke for only about 2 minutes. His speech was short, but incredibly powerful. He spoke about equality. He spoke about democracy. And he reminded people that the nation must continue the work of those who had given their lives. He described the moment as a chance for a new birth of freedom. Even today, people still remember these words. The speech became known as the Gettysburg Address. Finally, in April 1865, the war came to an end. The Union was preserved, the country remained one, and slavery was about to be completely abolished with the 13th Amendment. Abraham had led the nation through its greatest crisis. He had helped bring freedom to millions. He was tired. He had aged greatly during the war, but there was also hope. He wanted to heal the country. He wanted people from the North and South to come together again in peace. But just as a new beginning seemed possible, tragedy struck. On April 14, 1865, Abraham Lincoln went to a theater in Washington, D.C. He was there to watch a play with his wife, Mary. During the performance, a man named John Wilkes Booth entered the president's box. Booth was angry about the war's outcome. He supported the Confederacy and wanted revenge. He shot Abraham Lincoln. The injury was severe. Doctors tried to help, but the next morning, Abraham Lincoln passed away. He was 56 years old. The nation was in shock. People across the country cried. They had lost not just a president, but a symbol of hope,
courage, and change. Abraham Lincoln's life is one of the most powerful stories in history. He began with almost nothing, no wealth, very little education, many struggles, many losses. But he never stopped learning. He never stopped growing. He believed in honesty. He believed in hard work. And most importantly, he believed in treating all people with dignity and respect. Even through pain, even through loss, he stayed focused on what was right. That is why people still remember him today. That is why he is considered one of the greatest presidents in American history. His life teaches us something very important. Where you start does not decide where you will end. One person with courage and strong character can change the world. So, as you continue your own journey, learning, growing, improving, remember this story. Every page you read matters. Every step you take matters. Just like Abraham Lincoln, you have the power to build something meaningful, one small effort at a time. Keep learning, keep moving forward, and never stop believing in what you can become.